Every country fears one enemy, but sometimes the real threat comes from the friend who knows you best. For decades, Pakistan called the Taliban its brother. They shared faith, fought war together, and dreamed of shaping the same region. But in October 2025, that brother turned its back. The Taliban warned Pakistan will split into four. A few days later, blasts echoed across the Durand Line. Pakistan began air raids deep inside Afghan towns, and Taliban hit back hard. Dozens of soldiers dead on both sides, thousands of families running from their homes. And as the smoke rose across the border, one question echoed louder than bombs. Has Afghanistan just started a war that Pakistan cannot control? To understand this fire, we must go back to the line where it first began, the Durand Line, drawn by the British in 1893. It cut through mountains, tribes, and families. Pakistan calls it its border. Afghanistan calls it a wound that never healed. For years, Pakistan fenced this line with steel and wire. But Taliban said, "You can't divide blood with metal." Every border post, every fence became a symbol of pride. And pride is the fuel of every war. So is this fight about today's attacks or an old wound that never healed? The world calls them the Taliban, as if they were one. But there are two of them, and their wars are not the same. The Afghan Taliban, who now rule Kabul, see themselves as the ruler of a nation. Their dream is limited to their own land. They want to keep the power inside Afghanistan, not spread their rule across the world. They reject ISIS because ISIS wants a single global empire ruled by Sharia law. One religion, one rule, one system for all. The Afghan Taliban believe they already have their state. Their fight is about control, not expansion. But the Pakistani Taliban, or TTP, think differently. They share the same tribal roots, but follow the ideology of ISIS, a vision where Sharia law replaces Pakistan's constitution. They see Pakistan's army as an enemy of faith because in their eyes, it stands with the West, protects Western allies, uses Western weapons, and fights Western wars. For the Afghan Taliban, Pakistan is still a neighbor, at least in name. But when that neighbor demands you fight your own brothers, even friendship begins to crack. That's when Afghan Taliban say, "We don't control TTP." Pakistan doesn't believe them. It claims many TTP leaders live freely on Afghan land. And if that's true, when your own brother shelters your enemy, what do you call that bond? Loyalty or betrayal? There was a time when Pakistan's army shaped everything: politics, borders, even who ruled the country. But those days are gone. Now that same army fights on too many fronts. In the east, it watches the borders with India, always on alert. In the south, Baloch fighters attacks roads and fuel lines. Inside the cities, extremists strike when no one expects. And from the west, the Taliban brings new kind of fire. Afghanistan's fighters are stronger now. They use American rifles, night vision gear, and armored trucks left behind in 2021. They know the hills, the caves, the ground. That's an advantage Pakistan's jets can't take away. Afghanistan fights on its own land. Pakistan fights on every side. And the real question now is, how long can a nation keep fighting everywhere before it starts breaking from inside? No war ever stays between two countries. There are always others watching, waiting, and playing their part quietly. The United States no longer fight here, but its drones still circle these skies, watching, recording, and choosing targets no one talks about. Even after leaving Afghanistan, Washington never truly left. Now it fights with eyes, not soldiers, tracking every clash, every camp, every deal. For America, a tense border keeps the region divided, and a divided region is easier to manage. Sometimes, peace is not what they want. A little chaos keeps everyone in line. India knows this war well because it has lived beside it for decades. When Pakistan bleeds in the west, it grows weaker in the east. And that shift quietly works in India's favor. For Delhi, Afghanistan has always been more than a neighbor. It's a doorway. During the US years, India built roads, schools, even Afghanistan's parliament. Behind those projects were deep connection, political and strategic. Now, with Pakistan struggling, those ties give India a silent advantage. It doesn't need to fight, just need to wait. China stands in a harder spot. Its billion-dollar CPEC roads runs through Pakistan's most unstable regions, Gwadar, Balochistan and Khyber. Each blast near that highway burns Beijing's money and shakes its plans for the future. China doesn't need friendship, it needs stability. It looks for peace that keeps the trucks moving, not the words that disappear after every meeting. Iran watches all this from across the desert. It shares borders with both countries, but trusts neither side. Every new clash makes Iran more careful. It adds more guards, more fences, and watches quietly, waiting to see how far the fire goes. And when every neighbor watches not to stop the flame, but to count the gain, you have to ask, is this still a war or just another game? It's been weeks now, but the border is still tense. Guns have gone quiet, yet no one truly believes the silence. Pakistan is tired, fighting too many battles at once. The army is stretched, politics divided, and the economy barely holding on. But the people still hope. Many still remember Imran Khan, a leader who spoke of pride and change. Even after power shifted, his name still lives in the homes and hearts. Across the border, Afghanistan stands firm, proud, but more alone than ever. It might have won this round, but peace is harder to keep than victory. Around them, the world watches. China counts the cost. India stays patient, and Iran stays alert near its edge. Each one moves its piece, while the boat itself begins to crack. And when both sides claim victory, who really walks away stronger? In this war of borders and pride, the real question is no longer who fired first, but who will stop last. Has Afghanistan really started a war that Pakistan cannot control? Or has Pakistan been losing control long before the first bullet was fired? Because in the game of power, even silence becomes a strategy. If you want more stories like this, join us here. Subscribe to ThinkTell, because you think and we tell.